12 News is your local election headquarters. Rhode Island is likely to have its fourth statewide election in less than a year this upcoming March.
State lawmakers are poised to approve $400 million worth of bond questions, and there are 7 different questions voters will be asked to either approve or reject. Target 12 investigator Steph Machado joining us via Zoom now to break it all down. And Steph, first of all, why is this election happening in March?
Yeah, so if you voted in the November election, you may have noticed there weren't any of these statewide ballot questions on your ballot. You may have had some local ones, but that's because General Assembly leaders typically pass a budget in June that sometimes has some bond questions on it to ask voters if they want to borrow money for projects. But they didn't do that this year. They waited on the budget because of the financial uncertainties of the pandemic, and they punted it to after the election. So now, finally, next week, we are expecting the House and Senate to pass a budget, and they revealed last night that their proposal includes $400 million worth of bond questions for voters to approve.
Steph, we know bonds can be popular among voters if they support the projects that's being proposed. There will be 7 separate bonds being paid for, correct?
Yes, so let's just take you down the list because there's a lot of projects here that voters are being asked to pay for. We've got question 1, the largest dollar amount, more than $100 million for higher ed. This will go towards buildings and renovations at our 3 state colleges. Question 2, the so-called green bond for environment recreation. So think beaches, parks, cleaning up the rivers. Question 3 is for building more affordable housing. Question 4 is for transportation projects. Question 5 is a bond for building more early childhood centers. We know this has been a big priority for Governor Raimondo. Question 6 for arts and culture grants. And question 7 is for development of the Port of Davisville at Quonset and to develop more industrial sites. So it's a lot to ponder. If you would like the state to borrow the money to pay for these particular projects, state leaders argue it is a good time to borrow money because of low interest rates. And the state treasurer did say last night the state can afford these bonds.
Obviously, Steph, the past election was very different from ones that we've seen in the past. So many mail-in ballots. So I'm curious, will this one in March be similar with a large number of mail-in ballots as well?
That is the plan, Kim. What the General Assembly is envisioning in the bill that they put out last night is a predominantly mail-in ballot election. They did designate an additional $1.5 million to pay for said election. There will be polling places open as an option, of course, but predominantly by mail is what they're envisioning. They're also proposing to waive the 2-witness or notary rules for mail ballots again this election to make it easier to vote by mail. You will recall, perhaps, those requirements were waived because of the pandemic in September and the November election as the result of a court case that went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, so you didn't have to have anyone watch you, fill out your mail ballot and sign it to affirm that you did so. Those rules will be waived again in March if this bill passes as written next week, guys.
All right, Steph, thank you very much. And for more detailed breakdown of the projects you'll be asked to vote on and to approve, just head over to WPRI.com.